the login page of Transaction Desk. And maybe I should re-raise that for just a moment, but we'll see the links here at the end, transactiondesk.com/login. So it's pretty easy. Remember there, I think you can see in my web address bar, transactiondesk.com, use that / and then the word login, Login, will bring you to this page. Going forward, we're going to always give you access to your account through this generic login page, if you will, but we'll also complete integrations with your MLS account with Flex MLS so that you'll be able to complete what we call a single sign-on. Once you are logged into your MLS account, you'll have direct access to your Transaction Desk and InstanetForms account. So that'll be what we call a single sign-on from your Flex MLS account directly to your Transaction Desk or InstanetForms account. Single sign-on. We also have existing integrations in place that we'll see today about MLS import, being able to bring property information from MLS into your transaction file, so good integrations with your MLS provider. Today we're looking at the login through our generic login page, transactiondesk.com/login, and I will provide that link at the end of the session as well. So getting to this page, transactiondesk.com, you have either received or hopefully maybe even logged in one time your welcome email from Instanet Solutions. Comes with your link to log in as well as username and password. Your username is just your first and last name, and then there's a very unique string of alphanumeric character password that you're going to use to log in to your Transaction Desk InstanetForms account. And I've typed that in on mine already, and hopefully it's still good. So I'm going to click here on Login. When you log in for the first time, the good times. Well, now you get to see me type it in, www. And it also points out that after 20 minutes of inactivity, that transactiondesk.com/login. So that is the URL that we're going to go to, transactiondesk.com/login. After 20 minutes of inactivity, your account is going to log itself out. And that's basically what just happened here. I was kind of logged out of that login screen because I had let it sit idle for more than 20 minutes. So typing it again with a refreshed screen and logging in to that to the account. Oh, the good times. Let's see. Third time's the charm. As in life, I think it is correct. So there we go. Keep on trying until it takes that username and password. This is the first time you log in. We call it the Preflight system check. The Preflight system check is going to look at your internet technologies. Now, we don't require any proprietary software downloads. There's no InstanetForms program to download or any Transaction Desk program to download, but we do require some internet technologies. First thing, and right there in front of us, we might as well look at it first, is pop-ups. You're going to want to allow pop-ups from Transaction Desk and InstanetForms. There's just going to be a lot of value in those for save prompts and calendar icons and other informational features throughout Transaction Desk and transaction files. So first thing you're going to do is allow pop-ups. So most likely the first time you log in, it's going to say, you're going to get a pop-up blocker message saying this site is trying to allow pop-ups, allow once or so forth. So do allow those pop-ups from Transaction Desk. Otherwise, I have a bunch of green checks here on the left-hand side of my screen, which means that, yes, I am using the correct browser and OS. We do support both Windows-based PCs and Mac computers. If you're using a Windows PC, Internet Explorer and Firefox are two sites that we officially support, two web browsers that we officially support. You can use Chrome if you are a Chrome user, but we don't officially support it yet. Their technologies are changing a little bit. We're trying to keep up, but it does work. All of your features will work. Sometimes Chrome, though, is just a little bit has a few more hiccups than Internet Explorer or Firefox. We do officially support both Internet Explorer, Firefox, or PC. Safari browser for Mac users. And Safari browser not only on desktops and laptops, but Safari browser on iPads and iPad 2s so that you can access your InstanetForms account on those mobile devices. And we'll talk about that more as we go through this demonstration, but cross-platform support and utilization of those emerging tablet and netbook devices. The only other really requirement is the Adobe plugin. Our forms are based on Adobe Acrobat Reader technology currently, so you want to have Adobe Acrobat Reader installed as the primary PDF viewer on your computer. We are moving towards an HTML5 based Forms program. Not to get too geeky on everyone, but that won't be a requirement going forward. The plugin will be phased out, and if you are using a device like an iPad or iPad 2 where you cannot get Adobe or other features of Adobe on an iPad, those forms are already utilizing that technology. So it's not a overly mandatory requirement anymore, but it is good to have Adobe Acrobat Reader as the default PDF viewer on your computer. The rest, JavaScript, cookie support. I've got green checks. If you did not have any of these features set, you would show red X's, and underneath the feature or setting, it would show directions on how to get instructions or links to install that software or that feature onto your computer. So it will recognize if you do have it, give you the green check, or if you log in and you get a big red X, you're also going to receive instructions and links on how to install or utilize a supported browser, so forth. So Preflight system check. Pardon my mouse for a moment. Get rid of that go-to training sidebar. If it is taking up the better part of the right-hand side of your screen, that red block with a white arrow, make sure it's the arrow, not the X. The X will close you out, but the white arrow will expand and collapse that go-to training sidebar. As we go through this demonstration, don't hesitate to type your questions into that chat section. It is the bottom section of the go-to training sidebar. We'll be reviewing those as we go forward. The other one you may be interested in that go-to training is the materials section. Some links there to recorded content as well as our online calendar, so you can request or submit requests for personal or team or office size webinar sessions. So otherwise, top right corner there, going to click on continue. Again, first time logging in, this is are the steps that we're going to go through. You can set your time zone. Otherwise, we do want to agree to the terms of service. You can certainly implore you to read through it. Really is just going to say, please don't resell our product. That's probably the biggest feature of the terms of service. But otherwise, do take a look at that terms of service. Accept if you do accept, to move on. Continue, bottom right corner of the screen, to continue into your new member benefit, Transaction Desk InstanetForms. I'm going to continue to emphasize that it is the member benefit. You are going to receive these as part of your dues. To Telluride Association, when you pay your dues, you receive InstanetForms as part of that member benefit. And more than likely than not, you are going to log into this Home tab. The first time you log in, you will log into the Home tab. In the top center of the screen, that tab. To this view, to navigate. Where do you want to go? Do you want to start a transaction? Do you want to work with an individual form? Let's first discuss the tabs along the top, and then we'll go into print blank forms and then work with transactions. But first, as kind of just pointed out here, this is a home. This is the tab. It is this view. When you click home, you come to this view. Desktop is another view, and you can see that I actually had it set as my landing page. We talk more about this in our follow-up sessions, building better files, just adding content to your account to better manage and workflow management within your Transaction Desk and InstanetForms account. This desktop is a view so that you can see the transaction files that you created. You can create new files right from this view, and it just gives you more visibility into the content and forms and transactions that you've been creating. But again, just another view. Settings tab. Again, top row of tabs, just moving left to right. Settings tab. This is mostly what that second session is built upon, this settings tab, how to add content to your account, your personal settings, forms and quick start groups and transaction templates and templating your most commonly used transaction types just to build faster files more consistently and efficiently. That's what the follow-up session to this one is about, and it really focuses on this tab, the settings tab. Going to the right one more, calculator. It is an amortization calculator, so we'll give you that 30-year payment amortization. If that's what you want it to do, it will offer you that opportunity to manage or to offer that 30-year amortization. The one thing I like about this calendar more than other amortization calculators is it will do a reverse calculation. So if you know the monthly payment, like most buyers do, like, I want to spend $1,500 a month, you can put the amount monthly that you want to spend in the terms, probably 12 payments, 360 payments, at an interest rate, say 4% or 4.5%, whatever is realistic these days. If you would calculate based on the monthly payment and term and interest rate, it will give you a finance amount. So kind of a cool little calculator that you can utilize in that way. Very top right corner is the help section, where you can get screenshots and Captivate videos and instructions on how to complete specific actions, little PDF tutorials on how to complete those actions within your online account. So help, we do offer that tutorial-based, video-based, toll-free calling, online chat, and we'll show you links to those features at the end of this session. But help is always just a fingertip away within your account. Well, those are the tabs along the top. Resetting back to the second row of links just to speak to contacts. Contacts, unlimited storage for prospects and contacts. Integrations with Microsoft Outlook and Top Producer so that you can import contacts into your online account. And it really is just as a repository for contacts so that, one, you can have internet access to them. Anywhere you can get internet access, you can access your online contact database. You can insert those contacts into transaction files and outbound email and other features of InstanetForms. So contacts, good storage repository for contacts and prospects. InstanetForms. I'm going to click on this link now. InstanetForms, second row link, top center of the screen there, to look at the InstanetForms library view. And I call it the library view because that's exactly it. It's all the forms that you have access to in your online InstanetForms library. Hopefully they're pretty categorized, as you're familiar with from previous forms providers. So it is your forms. These are the forms that you've been using since the day you started in real estate. They may have been revised a few times, but they're the same. Colorado forms, Telluride forms. We are just another forms provider, but we're providing better form service, transaction files, MLS integrations, so really more robust online management using InstanetForms and Transaction Desk. Again, so this is just the library view, so we can see all the forms available in the library. We can work with one form at a time. We can type one up. We can print one out, and that's what we're going to talk about here for about 8 to 10 minutes. Starting in the top left corner of the screen, you can sort by, so you can set how you want to view the forms in the library. You can sort them this way under the Settings tab. You can set default values for how they're sorted. Otherwise, it's just alphabetically by name. I want to point out this phrase now and going to periodically throughout this demonstration. I'm talking about the essentials of InstanetForms, right? If there was an essential phrase in InstanetForms, you're looking at it or listening. I would like to is a very consistent phrase throughout Transaction Desk and InstanetForms every time. And I did say every time. I might even say always. I'll do it. Always. Every time and always you see that phrase, you're going to see these upside-down triangles. And by clicking on those triangles, it's going to yield these drop-down menus. So I know you're not supposed to say never and always. So here's the counter. You will at times see these drop-down triangles without that I would like to phrase. But you will always see the triangle when you see that phrase. If you are not recognizing these triangles and opening these menus, you are going to be missing out on 60 to 75% of the features within your InstanetForms and transaction desk. So if you remember nothing else from this demonstration, remember those drop-down triangles. You will see them consistently throughout InstanetForms. Different drop-down menus for different options and features within those menus. So keep a sharp eye out, and I will make sure that I talk about them as we go forward. Search. You can search by unique identifier, by form name, just an easier way to bring up that form that you're looking for. So just to be consistent here, I'm going to type buyer, because I think I did it last time too, but just a phrase, and we're going to click here on the search. This little triangle, excuse me, it's not a triangle, it's a magnifying glass. I'm just going to hover my mouse on it. You can see as I hover, we get these little instructional bubbles, and we'll see that throughout InstanetForms as well. So if you're not quite sure what that, just let your mouse hover on it, see it pop up, search. Yes, I'd like to search for all the forms with the word buyer in it. One form was found, they've been highlighted below. Sounds good. Because the one they came up was the broker's disclosure to the buyer/tenant. And it's highlighted. It's not selected, it's just highlighted. If I want to select that form, which I think I do, I'm just going to click on it. I've selected it. Now it's blue. And maybe you even notice that the right-hand side of our screen has changed. And that's the view now. When I click to select the form that I want to work with, the right-hand side of my screen changes. I can create a new version of this form, type it up for this particular client or prospect. I can simply print it to paper. Printing, clicking here on Print Blank Form, because this is a disclosure. This may be one you want to have a couple paper copies of, or you want to have a couple templates set up so you can quickly have them signed by potential prospects and so forth. You can save it offline, or you can print it to paper. File type, Adobe Acrobat PDF. Right-click and save target to download. I don't want to download it, I want to print it. So I just bring my mouse onto it, onto the page, and I use the right mouse button. There are two buttons on your mouse. If you're using PC, there are two buttons. This is your chance to click the button on the right. By clicking that button, it's going to yield these menus, and you can print these to paper. If you're a Mac user, you just double-click on the page, and it will bring up the same print prompt. So we can quickly, easily print that blank form to paper if that's how you want to retain some of these forms. Retain them offline. You can even save it offline, so you can save it to your local computer, to your desktop, your laptop, if you choose to do so. Again, onto the page, right mouse button, yield that menu. Canceling out. Up to the top right corner, there's a cancel button. Clicking on cancel is just going to take me out of that print view back to the form choice, really. Because maybe, let's take a quick look at Forms Editor, because maybe you want to type it up first and then print it. So clicking on Create New, it's going to open this form in Forms Editor. Again, working with one form. Transaction files is how we're going to generate a packet of forms, how we're going to get those forms auto-populated with our client and property and other account details. So this is the essentials. Is it essential to be able to print a blank form? I still think it is, or be able to have that paper copy, even as we're moving towards digital and digital signings and authenticide opportunities for digital signatures. I think there's still going to be opportunities for ink signatures on paper pages. So maybe you want to get this typed up first, because if your handwriting is anything like mine, you're going to take every opportunity to type instead of handwrite. Top right corner is going to populate a little bit with our information. And this information has been delivered to us by Telluride Association. Your name, your email address you have on file with them, contact information, the office that you work in, and all that different information is going to be used to populate your InstanetForms account from the Telluride Association has delivered us that content. So this is the disclosure page for that new buyer prospect or tenant, I guess. Select the appropriate checkbox. Just click the mouse to select the checkbox and just scroll down the page to see if there are more fillable fields. Here are the fillable fields. Broker buyer reference, have not entered a buyer, working relationship specifically described as, for specific property, maybe we'll type in here, type residential single family. Whatever would be appropriate to type into this field. You can type, I'll just add this, type, or paste. There are no restrictions from copying and pasting. To complete form fields. So what do I mean? I mean that anything that I can highlight and copy, again, right mouse button, if you're if you're a right mouse button fan, copy that content wherever you want to copy it from and paste it. I'm going to activate that field. I know it's active because my cursor, I clicked on it, my cursor is blinking in the top left corner. Right click to paste. There are no restrictions from copying and pasting. There really are no field restrictions at all for ABCs, as we saw already, and 1, 2, 3s, and special characters. Put in the information that you need to populate your fields. Type those fields in. These light blue fields are the fillable fields. The other are the boilerplate, and those are non-fillable. That is boilerplate content. But type or paste to complete these form fields. Check the boxes. I think most of you are probably in that multiple person firm. Check only one box. These are the fillable. Show property, prepare and convey written offers. Both. You know the appropriate fillable fields. Go through, complete them. Type them. Who's your buyer? Maybe it's John Johnson or Jack Jackson or Susie sells a lot. Whomever they are, type them in. We'll go with Ben, Benson, somebody like that. Complete your content. Let's talk about now the drop-down menu. So those are fillable fields, right? Nothing too scary about that. Just a different forms editor. Same features to type up your online forms, just a different forms editor. And hopefully this is where we start to differentiate. What can you do now that you've typed it up? File drop-down menu, top left-hand corner. I can go grab a new form, start a brand new one, maybe for this purchase contract or other agency agreement. I can open a form that I've typed up previously. I can save my changes. Certainly want to save the changes that you make to your forms. I can export it off my online account to a PDF or a Word document. So I have that opportunity to export this typed up form outbound. I could print it to paper. Now that I've typed it up, I can print it out, paper copy, go get those ink signatures on my paper pages. I could go ahead and exit from the form editor right here. But we're not ready to do that yet. We want to talk about more features, especially a send feature. You can send this form outbound via email. You can send an email message with a PDF attachment, or you can send an email message as a link for your recipient to open, review, print out, and get back to you. So how do you want to deliver it? Via email, let's just click on that option. As a PDF attachment or as a link, if you want to give them access to your online form, you have that opportunity. You can even give them the opportunity to make changes to your online form, the fillable fields. You can send it as a link and give them an opportunity to make changes. So you do have these other features available within. How do you want to deliver it? PDF attachment by default, as a link. The nice part about the link is that when they click on the link, you will get an email confirmation that the form has been opened. Whether or not you give them fillable access or not, there is a feedback loop for sending it as a link. You will get notified that when the form has been opened. Add their name, email address, any message, and click send. And it's sending from your InstanetForms account. You are the sender, your name in the sender field, but it is coming from do not reply at transactiondesk.com. So it is coming from you as the sender from your online InstanetForms account, but it is not your email account, so to speak. It is a do not reply at transactiondesk.com. So you can send it outbound, so you can print it to paper, you can email it outbound to your client for their signatures and initials. Let's just kind of keep creeping across there. Format, you can change the format for the fillable fields, font, style, color, and size, uppercase or lowercase. You can adjust the font on any fillable field within InstanetForms Forms Editor. View, you can zoom in on the page, you can jump to a particular page. Transaction is a nice opportunity to start a new transaction file right from this form, where you could say, you know what, deliver this, I want to start a new file. I got a good feeling this client's going to be, or this prospect going to sign and become a client, and I want to start a new transaction right from this individual form. So options, integrations between the form library and the transaction files. talk about this a little bit more and build better, faster files. Insert, clauses, content that you can add to your account, standard language, standard provisions, so that you can quickly and easily insert that language into your online form. If you have those broker clauses or the language you want to use in a specific sales situation or for a specific client, you can add the content to your account through the Settings tab. You can add that content to your account and then insert it to your online form. Help, same help, online help, live support. Click away. Monday through Friday, I believe it's Mountain Time. I believe it is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday, is the toll-free support and tech chat. Those are the tabs across the top. Now I'm going to click on Exit from Form Editor. You've typed up the form. You've taken appropriate steps with it. I'm going to exit from the Form Editor. Here's one of those saved prompts. If you're not allowing pop-ups, you're not getting these prompts. So yes, I want to save my changes. I'm going to exit from Form Editor. Essential part of InstanetForms. Where did it go? How do I? Where is it now? I typed it up. I emailed it, I think, and now I have no idea where it is. So my sense is that we could look for it again by the form name by buyer, but that was a disclosure. So you can open these folders by double-clicking on the folder name. You can even single-click on the plus sign, but the double-click, that rapid double-click to expand those folders. Then you'll see the plus signs next to these forms. We've generated copies of these forms or versions of these forms. I can re-access that form. I can edit it. There's that phrase again. See, when we select the form, we've typed it up, time and date stamp when we worked on it. I would like to. What would I like to do now? Continue to edit the form, create a copy of the form, maybe rename the form. Might not be a bad one. Give it a rename, identify it for this particular buyer or this particular client. I could use the property address, but I didn't add that, so I'm just going to add their name. And we'll just add Ben Benson here so that you can identify it from any other brokerage disclosure to buyer tenant that you have created. Rename the form. Going to be here always and available to me. Will always be saved online within my forms library. Will always be available to come back to that form, re-access it, resend it, revise it, whatever I need to do with that form. That's working with one form at a time. So it really, if it is a limitation of the library view, it's just that. It's one form at a time. But I think it's essential to be able to see how to print one out, how to access that one when you really need it at that time. As we exit, I just want to speak to this view other periods. Within the past 90 days, 180, year, all forms. Based on the create date, the date we just created this new form, I will see it visibly within my drop-down window there for 90 days. I can see it for 180. I can see it for the last 365, or I can see all the forms I've ever created. But just to try to reduce the amount of forms, and I don't say clutter, but the amount of revisions that you see in there, you can time sensitive those form view. So you're only seeing the ones that are most timely or most created in the last certain amount of timeline. So I guess what it boils down to, if this disappears and you're like, oh my God, where'd that Ben Benson form go? Just extend the amount of time that you're looking back at that form window. Individual form library. Back to the Home tab. Clicking back on Home. Going to kind of recenter ourselves here, because now the remainder of the session we want to talk about transaction files. Transactions really are the highest and best way to use InstanetForms, essential to creating form packets timely and consistently. So what we're going to do, we're going to click here on transactions. That second row links, center, shading to the right just a little bit, transactions. And first thing, let's take a look at a transaction. So hopefully emphasize to you that you can always come back to your transaction files. These are living files. You can come back to them at any time, add, update, revise, take appropriate steps to work with those online files. Just to point out before we do, I would like to. There's that phrase again. There's the drop-down arrows, all the things that you can do within this transaction view. If I click on a transaction file, name. It's going to reopen that transaction. So I can see the content that I've added to this transaction file already. The forms that I've added in. Complete form packet. The contacts that I've added in or imported from the MLS. That's where a lot of this content importing from the MLS gives us a great opportunity to reduce the amount of time, energy, and effort, the amount of redundant data entry. Well, let's first take a look at the red bullet points here that we refer to as the dashboard of red bullet points, the dashboard. We're looking at the overview. That top red bullet point overview is just the view that we're looking at. There are dates within this file, milestone dates that will autofill our form field. So if we add a closing date or a list date or an expiration date, it's going to autofill our forms with those dates. History, robust history of our activity within our transaction file. Try to get that from a manila folder. All of the activity that takes place within your file captured, time and date stamped when the activity took place. General information, so you can update the file status or the file name. Some of you like to update names of files as they go through those sale phases. General information is how you can do that. Property information, hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. Address, city, state, zip, legal description, tax IDs, all that content that we can add to our transaction file. All that content autofills those fields within our forms. Call logs, good for logging conversations, substantive conversations, leaving notes, memos, things like that. Just a opportunity to leave correspondence within the online file. Contacts, buyers, sellers, lenders, cooperating agents, anyone that is a party to your transaction file can be added as a contact. Anyone added as a contact can be granted participant access. If you want to give a third party access to your online transaction, that feature is available. Forms. Online forms library, all the forms that we would need to attach to this file to execute the purchase contract, or first things first, buyer disclosures, relationships, things like that. But all the forms we'll need, not just one at a time, all added simultaneously or built in the file as we go through those phases. Sharing. You can share your files with other members of your office, with a business partner, team member, or transaction coordinator. Anyone else in your office can be shared into your transaction file. Just before we go to start a new file, I want to point out there's that phrase again. I would like to. Big drop-down menu here, transaction overview screen, big drop-down menu, good content in here that we'll look at a little bit closer once we set up our new file, but always like to point out where you'll see those drop-down menus. I would like to. And just think, all these bullet points on the dashboard are elements of this transaction file. They are specific to this Jack Jackson buyer prospect transaction file. Go back to transactions. That's the elements, so let's just pop through and create a new one. I would like to create a new transaction, clicking on the go arrow. We're going to do a buyer. We did a buyer. We've done one buyer, one seller, so we're going to do a buyer, and then we'll do another seller and another session. So this buyer is going to be, this is always where I struggle, go blank sometimes. Let's just go with Peterson, Pete. And Pete is maybe he's a condominium or townhouse or something like that. Townhouse prospect buyer. This is free-form text. Prospect. There we go. You name your files the way that you like to, or the way that your office requests that you name them. It's free-form text. That's just my preferred way to name the file, but certainly don't take mine. Use your own. It is a free-form text, and that is the only required field when starting a transaction. That is an asterisk. It is an asterisk. I know it kind of looks like a spitball, but it is an asterisk. It is not lint on your screen. It is an asterisk next to the transaction name. That's the only requirement. Give your name, give your file a name, and you can start your new file. Bottom right corner, you can click Start Transaction. That's all you have to do. All the other features in between the name and the start is opportunity to start adding content or differentiators about this transaction. The first one being, what type of transaction is this? Is it a commercial lease? I don't think so. Clicking on that drop-down arrow, there's an example of the arrow without the I would like to. So you will see those arrows. Is it commercial lease listing? Is it a condo townhouse? Is it a residential lease listing? I'm going to go with the condo townhouse. Now, I should be the first three, commercial, and the bottom three, residential, are all system values. Every 400,000 licensed users of our InstanetForms transaction desk see those 6. I added condo by clicking here on Add Transaction Type, just like you can, to start adding content to your account. If you don't see the transaction types that you are most commonly involved with, add them to your account. Add the transaction type that you most commonly work with. MLS. Do we have something that we want to import? Do we have MLS content that we want to bring into this new file? If so, check the box, Telluride, choose the appropriate type. Commercial, industrial, condominium. Choose the appropriate type of transaction, the appropriate type of property that you are wanting to import, and then type in the MLS ID. You can start your new file right from MLS import. Hopefully it's pretty obvious there. You choose it, you add your content, you click Start Transaction. I'm going to point out the not so obvious place so that you can see how to import MLS content into an existing or open transaction file. Populate from a transaction template. This is a feature that we really focus on within the Build Better, Files Faster templates. So when you have that condo townhouse, you can start it from a template that you created specifically for condos and townhouses, or a template that you created specifically for listings or other residentials. So you can template these files to start with core details, to get forms added automatically, to get contacts, placeholders in there, and so forth. There's content that you can use to start your files faster. Using the transaction wizard is an optional feature. We will walk through the steps. The wizard just walks us through the elements of our file. We saw them, the red bullet points of the transaction overview, right? The property details, the contacts, the forms, the sharing. That's what the wizard does. It says, do you have details you want to add? Add them now. Do you have forms you want to include? Include them now. Do you have contacts you want to add? So we can go through those steps by leaving it checked, or we can skip those steps. We're going to go through them. And we're going to choose ourselves as the selling agent. We want to be added in as a selling contact. We want our broker to be added in as the selling broker. So we choose the appropriate contact side for ourselves. And now we start the file. Bottom right corner, clicking Start Transaction. So instead of just starting it with a name and 0 content, I'm starting it with a name and a little bit of content. Using transaction templates, you can start it with a name and a lot of content. So first time you start a transaction file, and until you repress it by clicking on this Do Not Show This Message Again, you're going to get this pop-up message when you start a new transaction to think of the transaction file like a replacement of that paper file. Don't worry if you don't have all this content to get started. We can skip right over the steps that we don't have any value for right now. We can save and exit from this wizard at any time and go right to the overview page. So the wizard is, think of it as your benefit to quickly go through and close that message. To quickly go through and add whatever content that we have to this file at this time. There's nothing required. There are no required fields. Here's the property details. The content that we add will autofill any forms that we attach to this file. Purchase price. Do we know any of this information right now? Probably not, unless it's that golden goose buyer who calls you and says, I found the property, I just need you to help me write the contract. So you might get that 1 out of 10. 1 out of 100, but generally speaking, no. You get a prospect, a phone duty, or you get it some other case, you're not going to have it right now, which is fine. Just click on Next. We're going to import this property information anyway, so we don't want to type it in. Do we have any dates? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not, but just to show the calendar icon here, maybe it's a reload, or they need to close by a particular time, and we're going to put that closing date into our So these are calendar icons, so I can pick the days from the calendar. If I don't have any now, don't worry, nothing's required. That's why you can always come back and revise, update, or edit your transactions. Otherwise, blue next buttons, top right corner, clicking on next. Contacts, I was added in, my broker was added in. I would like to add new transaction contact. There's the drop-down triangle, but otherwise click on the go arrow because we want to add Pete Peterson as a buyer contact to our transaction file. Contact type, buyer. Pretty big list there. If you still don't see all the ones you might require, you can add your own content. This buyer, clicking on continue, bottom right, continue, is going to be Pete Peterson. Pete Peterson. Spoke about contact database. Follow me to the middle right-hand side of there. Insert from contacts. If I'd spoken with Pete before or had Pete was in my Microsoft Outlook and I imported in, I could insert Pete into my transaction file. If that's not the case, if this is the phone duty call and I'm just adding the information I can glean from this call, and it might be that get a cell phone and an email message, or email address, excuse me. I'm not going to cover it now, but this is where I can also grant my contact access as a participant if I want to give Pete access to our transaction file. This is where we'll do it. We'll actually cover it in a follow-up session. Add to my contacts. I do want to add Pete to my online contacts. As I slide over to the right and click Save, two things are happening. One, Pete is added to my transaction file. Pete has been saved to my contacts database. If there are other buyers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, parents and children, business partners, add them in separately. You want to add them separately so that each will auto-complete the printed name fields under those contract signature lines. So we're going to see that as we go forward and auto-populate our forms with this content. We will add them separately so that each buyer or each seller will auto-complete those printed name fields under those signature lines. Otherwise, clicking on Next. So moral of the story is always add your clients and prospects in separately. I would like to. There's that phrase, add new forms, go arrow, access to the forms library. Quick Start Groups is content that you can add to your account so that you can quickly add groups of forms to particular transaction files. You can create buyer templates and packets and so forth if you choose to. Ways to quickly add multiple forms simultaneously, covered in the follow-up session. In this session, we're just going to click to select the form that we want to add. We're going to press and hold the Control key to select multiple forms. So let's see. Worksheet for a closing statement, sure. Press and hold Control, select the additional form. Click on the plus sign to expand these. Press and hold the Control key to select the additional forms. Any more? Press and hold the Control key. We go to Addenda. Press and hold the Control key to select the additional form. Multiple forms simultaneously. Add selected forms. Value of Quick Start Groups or transaction templates is so you can quickly add those automatically every time you start that particular type of transaction. Save yourself the hunting and the pecking by creating Quick Start Groups and templates. Otherwise, hunting and pecking still get you 4 or 5 or however many you need to get started. Clicking on Next. This is the wizard. This is the first step through the our new file. That's all it is. We can save and exit at any time. We can come back and add more content at any time. Do I want to share? I created a share for my business partner, but I'm not necessarily in the sharing mood right now. Just because I created the share doesn't mean I necessarily have to always share. Save and exit. Exiting from the wizard. Going to the transaction overview page. We can now take those next steps. What do I need to do for this particular client? Do I need to deliver them outbound that disclosure? So I want to send them some content to get started. What I want to point out now, pause my screen for a second here. So bear with me. I'm going to get that MLS ID. So it's a great time for questions. If you want to type some questions into that GoToTraining sidebar chat section, be happy to answer those. Otherwise, I'm just grabbing an MLS ID here so I can import property information into this existing file to show, give you a sneak preview of this upcoming MLS integrations. Well, this one's already in place. The additional MLS integrations will be the login. So the import is already here. I would like to drop down triangle. What do I want to do? Well, in this example right now, I want to import data. I want to select that action, and I'm going to click on the go arrow because I don't want to type in the address every time I have a new offer to make or this person finds a new property. Telluride, I think this one is, I apologize, I didn't look very closely. We're going to both find out together. Single family residential, MLS ID, import that property information. It's going to reach out to the MLS. It's going to find that ID. It was a condominium. Apologize. I thought it was as soon as I checked it, but importing, reaching out to that. It just shows also the importance of choosing the right property type to MLS ID so that when it does reach out and finds that MLS ID and imports that content into your file. MLS integrations reduce redundant data entry, reduce time, energy, and effort. Because now when we go to our forms, and I typically do work from the dashboard on the left, I'm going to click on InstanetForms from the dashboard on the left-hand side of the screen. I click on InstanetForms to see the forms that I've added in to this point. I would like to add new forms. Does it become clear that I need to add another one right now? I certainly can add more forms to this file. One thing I absolutely want to do right now is auto-populate, update my forms. Clicking on that link, it's going to move the data from my file to my forms and contracts. That's the way the data moves. I add the content to my transaction file. That content auto-populates my form fields. So I'm going to click on the form name, the broker's disclosure, launch that form in Forms Editor. Forms Editor is basically the same in a transaction file as it is within the Forms Library view. One major difference is here, the right-hand column. Here are the 4 forms I've already added to this file. As I complete one, I can go directly link up to the next, They're here, quickly and easy to access. What's just as nice about this column, though, is I can shrink it. That red minus sign at the top of that right-hand column is to shrink that against the right-hand side of the screen so that I can have more visual purchase of the form I'm working on, so that I can go through the form and type up. And they wanted a townhouse, right? They wanted a condominium / townhouse. Tab. Tab is a good key. Use Tab key to go to the next fillable field. Tab. Type or paste. Control V to add text. Let's see if I have a insert. I think I might have a clause here. Insert clauses. Not an appropriate clause, but we'll choose it. Seller leaseback clause. See the contents below? I can add it in to the selected clauses here on the right-hand column, and then I can copy it to the form. Copying to the form at the top of the input area, absolutely. Top of the input just means that top left-hand indent. So there's additional ways to get content into my online form. Printed name fields under signature lines. Pete Peterson, if I'd added additional separate buyer contacts, they would autofill those additional forms. Pete, brokers, my name, content auto-populating my form fields. As I type up one form, expand that column, top right side, expand that window to go to the next. Worksheet for closing statement. Clicking on it. Prompt to save my changes. I'm leaving this form. I made changes without saving them. I will be prompted to save my changes. Yes. Go directly to the next form. To the next form. All of the drop-down menus are the same. For File, for Send, for Format, for View. The one that is different is Transaction. Transaction in the Transaction view will actually let you go grab an additional form right from your Forms editor, or excuse me, right from Forms editor. We can access the library and import an additional form. Nice part about importing it from here, it will be auto-filled with any transaction file detail. So it's pulling it in and populating it with transaction file content. Again, minimizing or shrinking that window against the right, just so we can see the content that's auto-populated from our transaction file. We can go through all the blue fields are fillable so that I can type in all of the required and optional fields. Forms editor. Now again, if I use these drop downs on the top left, it's really just working with this individual form. So I can print this form. I can email this form. But I can also start incorporating additional forms by expanding that window. I can select the brokerage disclosure and that worksheet for closing statement. And I can print selected forms to PDF. I can email those selected forms. So now I'm delivering multiple forms. I'm merging forms together and sending complete form packets. I don't generally do it from here, although you can. I typically exit from the form editor. Clicking on Exit from Form Editor. And now I'll select them from here. I don't know why. It's all fair. It's all the same steps and choices, but I just want to deliver those two forms. So I want to establish this agency, or at least get them the disclosure and give them an idea how much it's going to cost to purchase a home. I can email them. I want to print them to PDF. We saw the email. You saw how you email it outbound. It's the same steps. Recipient, email address, and so forth. As a PDF attachment, two separate PDF attachments, or as two separate links. Print selected forms to PDF and clicking on Go is going to give me the chance to merge them together. So that broker's disclosure. So if I wanted to switch the order, I could use these green arrow keys to switch the order around. Otherwise, I'm going to generate a PDF document to merge these individual forms into one PDF document that I can print to paper, that I can attach to an email message. So ways to start merging these together. IE is going to give you this pop-up at the bottom. Any browser is going to give you this link at the top. That's what I'm going to click on. PDF created successfully. Click to open transaction and print the PDF. It is an Adobe Acrobat PDF. It is non-fillable. It is a PDF reader file that I can save to my desktop, that I can email with my personal email, that I can deliver outbound to my client for signatures and initials. Take those appropriate steps. If you're interested in digital signature technology, we do offer AuthentiSign, which integrates with your InstanetForms on a number of levels. So good digital signature opportunity, AuthentiSign, to add to your existing InstanetForms account. Otherwise, back to InstanetForms, we're right at that hour mark. I'm going to go back to the transaction overview link to kind of start backing out of here. Transaction overview. I want to speak to two more features within this I would like to. One is archive. You can generate or export your transaction files to PDF. This archive will do just that. It will generate a comprehensive, all of the data within your online file will create a comprehensive PDF that you can save offline or burn to DVD or other medium. You can import data, as we saw. The other one here is to save as a transaction template, and hopefully this will lead us into the follow-up sessions for building better files, building those templates opportunities. Otherwise, from our overview, just going to go back to the Home tab, We're going to re-raise this audio message. Be very thankful for the opportunity to present, mindful of everybody's time, thankful for the time, energy, and effort that you've taken to participate in this webinar. I do hope it was a benefit to you. Still reviewing and answering questions through that GoToTraining sidebar chat section, but if you would like to think about scheduling a webinar specifically for your team, your office, yourself, and business partner, this is our calendar, online calendar. You can submit days, times that would be convenient. They're more interactive. We can talk to each other. They can be tailored to specifically the content that you wanted to cover and the time that you want to cover it on the day that you want to cover it. Twitter, always lively conversation, twitter.com/webinar, Greg. Here is that login page again, transactiondesk.com/login. You can use that in the meantime until that Flex MLS integration is complete to log in, or certainly beyond that MLS integration as well. If you don't know what questions to ask quite yet, when you do, webinars at InstanetSolutions.com, great for follow-up questions, comments, general observations. Toll-free support, 1-800-668-8768 for sales and support. If you are interested in additional transaction management technologies to add to your existing member benefit, Authentisign digital signatures, DocBox, unlimited document storage, and faxing would be two features to consider. YouTube.com/Instanet Webinars is for all of our recorded content. As we record it, we try to post as much of it we can to YouTube, anywhere from a 1 to 5 minute tutorial to a 60-minute full overview session. Final one there, logos at Instanet. If you want to brand your forms library, you can submit that logo to logos@InstanetSolutions.com. We will add that logo, company logo, to your forms library to brand all of the forms that you generate from your InstanetForms account. But with that said, and really time is of the essence, thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I will remain for a few minutes to continue answering questions through that GoToTraining sidebar. Otherwise, until we webinar again, I hope you have a tremendous, tremendous day.